Okay, welcome to this webinar. This webinar is about the best time for an attorney to make a lateral move between law firms. And what I'm going to be talking about today is mainly some of the positive reasons like that attorneys should move at different points in their career. But what I'm not going to be talking about so much is a lot of the negative reasons that attorney should move. And those negative reasons include quite a few things that probably happen to most attorneys during their career. And to start the webinar, I wanted to go over a few of these negative reasons because these are things that at various points in time will affect attorneys in different firms. And so these particular reasons I think are things that you need to be aware of about when you really do need to leave a firm before you ever start, thinking about some of the positive reasons. And the positive reasons are things like trying to get, better work or more exposure to your practice area. And so I will be going over those today. But to start, I just wanted to talk about, some of the negative reasons when you absolutely need to move between law firms or should, mainly due to issues with your performance, or other things going on in the firm that you're working at. So the first thing that often happens to attorneys, it happens to them sometimes at the beginning of their career. It can happen later in their career, and you kind of never know when these reasons will necessarily take effect. But one of the main reasons that you definitely need to move between law firms is always going to be if you're asked to leave the firm. And at various points in time, an attorney may be asked to leave and find another position. And that could be, because the firm doesn't have enough work for you and they're asking you to leave. It could be because, something to do with your performance issues. And, just at the outset, it's very interesting with a lot of, especially mid-sized to smaller firms. When attorneys start out there, they're often expected to hit the ground running and to know what they're doing and to really put in sort of a major effort. And if they don't, then the law firm will often ask them to leave. And as a young attorney, you often may not understand why you're asked to leave. And you could be asked to leave because they perceive you as not working hard enough, meaning you might be kind of watching the clock and only billing the minimum amount you should each day. You don't throw yourself enough into the work and try to do the very best job possible. You're not pleasing the people that you work for, and you need to always understand different personalities with the people that you work for. I had a case early in my career where I was in a 2-year judicial clerkship, and when I started the job, I remember I made a typo. Basically, had the judge not caught it, the process to release someone from prison on a habeas corpus would have started, meaning I granted instead of denied by mistake this motion. And the judge called me into his office and he's like, "This is very serious. You could never make these sorts of errors." And I was kind of used to, when I was in school, just kind of writing what I wanted and not carefully proofreading it and getting good grades. And when you get into the real world and start, working for law firms, different law firms have different expectations. And often the better the firm, the more they're going to expect you not to be making any form of errors, meaning no typos, your work's carefully proofed, even when you're doing memos. And everything needs to be, as good as possible. And depending on the firm, they may not be up to those standards, but a lot of firms do have those sorts of standards. So you may find yourself losing a position and being asked to leave very early in your career for things like typos. And what happened to me is I got to work for this judge, and I was about 9 months in, and I wasn't making typos as much anymore, but I wasn't happy there. And so the judge was kind of looking for reasons to potentially ask me to leave. And when he caught me making a typo, another typo like 9 months in, and not a very serious typo, he got very mad, and we had a discussion. And before I got fired, I actually, because I could tell it was going that way, I told them that I wanted to leave. And so many times you could get into a firm and things can happen where the firm is just basically going to ask you to leave. It could be because of typos. It could be because of they don't like the quality of your work. It could be because you're making mistakes with the logic that you're applying to things. It could be any variety of reasons that the law firm is going to ask you to leave. And so anytime a law firm asks you to leave, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you need to very quickly start looking for a job. And just so everyone understands, getting asked to leave, it's very common with firms at different points in your career. You may be asked to leave simply as when you get to be a senior associate in a large firm, when you're not going to make partner, even though you might have been there like 8 or 9 years. I mean, firms will ask you to leave for a variety of reasons. For example, the partner not having business. So being aware of when the best time to make a lateral move, and if you're asked to leave, there's really nothing you can do to ever salvage that. You need to look for a new job. Other reasons that firms will often ask you to leave that you don't really understand why is law firms will often hire associates and even income partners and other people with the expectation that they will have a certain amount of work coming in. And these law firms rely on work from clients. They rely on business and all these sorts of things in order to pay you. And at some point, if the equation doesn't merit them paying you because there's not enough work, they'll ask you to leave. And this happens to both litigators, it happens to corporate attorneys, it happens to real estate attorneys. At this point in time, there's actually been a lot of people and all sorts of different practice groups being asked to leave. For example, when interest rates are high, there's not as much activity in real estate, also because the office market was kind of obliterated with, not obliterated, but hurt very badly with remote work during COVID. There's not as much real estate work because of that. And so real estate is this kind of practice area where people have been losing jobs and having an extremely difficult time finding new ones. And then those law firms, because they don't have enough work, are asking people to leave. Another very common thing that is very important also to realize when you're choosing practice areas is corporate, for example, is a practice area where it's very dependent upon economic activity in the market. So securities is dependent on securities work, all sorts of different, oops, sorry about this, whiz. I have an electronic desk here. So securities, different types of corporate work are a practice area where you're often going to be asked to leave when work slows down. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And it's been happening for over a year as work has slowed down in corporate departments all over the country. I mean, Silicon Valley, New York, Chicago, everywhere. And so law firms are asking people to leave because of that. And obviously, if you're in a firm and you see a major slowdown in the work and you're just not getting enough work in your practice area, and that's going on for a while, then you definitely need to start looking for new places to work. And I'm going to talk about later in this webinar, and this, by the way, this is a live webinar, so I will be taking questions at the end. I will also tell you what to do when you're lateraling, and the best way to lateral between firms and when, and how to find opportunities even when you have to move. But in litigation is another practice area. There have been law firms. There was a big law firm in California called Heller Ehrman, and they had been around since the late 1800s and was a very well-respected firm. And they had a big firm and all over California, and they had a succession of 3 big litigation cases that settled one after another. And when those litigation cases settled, all the work for litigation dried up, and they didn't have the money to pay people anymore or to pay loans that they'd taken out, and the law firm ended up collapsing. So, anytime you see cues like the law firm losing work, the law firm, different things happening in different practice areas, then it's often a very good time for you to leave. Uh, so no work in your practice area if it goes on for even 3 to 4 weeks. You definitely need to start aggressively looking for jobs. It's just it's what it is, and law firms will always let people go if there's not enough work. Now they will find reasons, often with your performance and different things that uh, really aren't fair, but they will often ask you to leave. And it's pretty shocking when you're a young attorney. I mean, you may have received like 2 or 3 assignments or 4, and then all of a sudden uh, you're asked to leave. Oftentimes you'll see law firms kind of giving you busy work, things that writing memos about things that the clients aren't necessarily going to need right then. Just different types of things that are really an indicator that the law firm doesn't have any work. And you have to remember that when you're going to work for a law firms are businesses. And so as a business, they need to have revenue coming in to pay you. So you will find law firms that suddenly don't have that revenue coming in, and you absolutely need to make a lateral move in that situation. And again, I'm going to talk more about what to do. But the most important thing for any attorney, and this is for your entire career, whether you're a new associate, a mid-level associate, a senior associate, a partner, the most important thing for any attorney is always to make sure you have access to work. There's nothing more important than making sure you always have work coming in. I mean, you can't survive as an attorney without having work to do. And so if you don't have work to do, then you're basically going to be out of business. And this is what people do. This is why people move in house. This is why people will often do all sorts of things to find work, become contract attorneys, whatever. They will do everything they possibly can to find work. And it's the same thing when you're a partner. I mean, a partner needs to be able to have access to work. So if partners' clients go away, they lose access to work. So work, just keep it in the back of your mind. Whether you're a associate, whether you're a senior partner looking for a job, whether or not, regardless of the level of your career, if you don't have access to work, you're out of business. And you need to stay in business. And in order to stay in business, you need to do good work. You need to connect with the people that have the work in your firm. You need to start trying to develop clients, whatever you can. The most important point of your entire career is always having access to work. If you don't have access to work, you're in trouble. And so this is the reason partners are expected to get business. This is the reason that associates are expected to do the best job they possibly can, because they need access to work. And so anytime you're in any type of situation where there's not enough work, you're not being given enough work, then you're in trouble. And law firms, by the way, will often just decide they don't like you. They don't like your personality. They don't like different things about you. You may be not social enough and connected with the right people. You may not be hungry enough going out and asking for work. There was a firm based in Boston that had associates in New York, and every Monday there was a partner in that practice area that would email out a list of work for people to claim at something like 7 or 8 a.m. New York time, and people were expected to turn on their computers and be ready to receive the work at that time. And I remember working with an associate, and he, other associates in his practice area would always get up early and be ready to look for that work. And he was, typically in a lot of firms in New York, people kind of run in around, 10 a.m. and then they stay late. But he didn't want to get up early and get that work. And he was a smart guy. He went to Columbia Law School. He was at a major law firm, and he refused to do that because he said, "I don't start work till 10." And as a consequence, he lost his job very early in his career and wanted to stay in New York. He was from New York. He went to law school in New York, and because he lost his job so early in his career, no large law firms would interview him. And it got actually to the point where I remember I got him an interview with a large firm, and he walked into his first interview, and the partner, the first partner to see his resume, said, "We didn't realize you were unemployed. This interview's over." And so, just because he wasn't hungry enough searching out work, he lost access to work. So as an associate, like you need to be, and as a partner, I mean, you need to be very, very aggressive in doing whatever you can to get work. You need to network with partners. You need to find, who has the most work. You need to ingratiate yourself to the right people. You need to do excellent job on your assignment so you get more work. I mean, you always need to get access to work. And if you're not getting access to work, then you're in trouble. I've seen other associates just get bad reputations, and same thing with partners. They do something wrong, and the law firm suddenly freezes them out and stops giving them work. I've seen people get drunk at Christmas parties. I saw a partner at a major law firm in New York City get pushed out because there was a perception that he had drank too much at a Christmas party and was talking in a way that seemed like he was making some moves on another partner's wife, and they kind of froze him out and started pushing him out. So you can get a bad reputation in firms. Like you can do something that just sours your reputation. I saw another. I've seen tons of associates lose their job just based on one incident, like something that is a reporter calls, or they call a reporter to talk about a case and they didn't have authorization to do that. I saw some guy lose his entire career in law firms very, very early at one of the first law firms I was at, Quinn Emanuel, because he did that. You can do bad work for one partner, and that partner is very connected and tells other partners, not to give you work, and you'll get pushed out and maybe asked to leave. So, there's all sorts of reasons that you may be having problems at a firm and why you need to start looking for a new job. You may have problems with understanding various issues that you're given. You may have problems, with the logic or the work you're doing. You may have problems with typos. You may have problems, with all sorts of things. I mean, you're just not being liked. And so, anytime that stuff happens, it's time to look for a new firm. What the smartest people do is the smartest people, when they're in that situation, will realize that they're in a really bad situation. And oftentimes, what they're going through is fatal. And so because they're not doing the quality of work they're supposed to, or they've gotten a bad reputation, it's time for them to look for new jobs. So I'm going to talk today about a lot of the other types of reasons that people move, and these are more positive reasons, but I did want you to understand in the beginning why having access to work and all the things that you could do wrong that would hurt you early or later in your career. And attorneys, by the way, are often, interested in moving for reasons that aren't good. They may be interested in leaving because they've heard that people really enjoy working at another firm. I was very happy at my first firm, and I was there. And then I had a friend that was working in this firm that did a lot of entertainment law, and he talked about how sexy it was and all these different reasons. And suddenly, because he was selling me so heavily on it, mainly I think because he was going to get a commission if I went to work there, like they were paying, something ridiculous like $20,000. So he just sold me on why I needed to work in a new firm, and why that was a really good thing for me, and why this firm was a much better choice. And I went over there and interviewed, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I felt so uncomfortable. I didn't like the people, but he kind of had planted a seed in my mind that I should be leaving. And so then I started, I get calls from recruiters, and I started thinking, well, maybe I'll go to work in one of these firms. And so many times you can be influenced in the wrong way to look for a job. And when that happens, you may be making a mistake. Like, you just don't want to leave just for the sake of leaving. You need to have concrete reasons that I'm going to talk about today. So today I'm going to talk a lot about whether you should make a move, and then if so, when you should make that move. So whether you should make a move. So, you could be interested in leaving your firm for a variety of reasons. These reasons typically, the best reasons to think about leaving are the quality of the work that you're getting at your current firm, meaning how good the work is, how sophisticated the work is, does it match what you're looking for, and can you get better work at a new firm? Does that new firm have better work? Also, professional growth is a big one, meaning that you'll grow professionally if you work in a new place. Then, of course, you have firm culture, which is really, in my opinion, one of the most important reasons for moving, because uh, people don't realize it. People think that all law firms are the same, but in reality, different law firms have different cultures. I mean, they're like families, and so certain people will fit in with certain cultures, and other people won't. And then the final reason are personal choices, which I'm also going to talk about. So, uh, each of these points are good reasons to make a move, and positive reasons. You want to move for positive reasons and not negative reasons. So the first one is quality of the work, and different firms will give you different qualities of work, and you have to uh, really go to a place where you believe that the quality of work and the type of work you're doing really matches what you're seeking to do. I had a attorney years ago, and she had gone to Yale Law School and done well there. She had been first in her class, like a major university, like just incredible. And then she decided to move to another firm in Silicon Valley from New York. And she had been working at Sullivan and Cromwell, which is just an awesome firm. And the law firm, when she moved, they didn't have an office in Silicon Valley at the time, and she needed to be there for some reason. And she got there and found herself, instead of running deals and being in charge of everything, and getting a lot of responsibility, she found herself just kind of working in very routine work that didn't match, what she was looking for. And she was very unhappy. And then she moved to another firm, and it was the same thing. So, sometimes you move, and she was very unhappy, and then went off and did something else in the practice of law. And, maybe had she stayed at Sullivan and Cromwell, she would have become a partner. I mean, she just was doing very, very well, but she became very dissatisfied, you know, uh, about the quality of work that she was getting. And because she was so dissatisfied, and ended, her career. Now, the quality of work can mean a lot of things. So, the quality of work means the sophistication of the work that you're being given by the firm. And so that means that at some firms, you may be given, work that really challenges you, that where you're working for larger clients. And then at other firms, it may actually be the opposite. You'll be working for small clients, and you'll be, unable to really get the quality of work that you want. The small clients typically don't have as big budgets, so the work you do tends not to be as in depth, and then because of that, the quality of work you get is not as important. And let me just explain that to you a little bit, and how the quality of work is kind of meted out between firms of different in different locations and firms of different prestige levels. So you should always be really aware of what's going to happen based on the quality of work that you're getting. So when you're working at the largest law firms, the clients typically will have not unlimited, but large budgets that they're willing to write checks for large amounts of money for long periods of time to do work. And so the law firms, especially the largest law firms working with the largest clients, will look at issues just in lots of depth. They will have lots of money to throw at problems. They will do the absolute best work they can. In addition, attorneys tend to be siloed into distinct practice areas. So instead of just doing environmental litigation, environmental counseling, as an environmental attorney in a large firm might just do environmental counseling. And even at the largest law firms, I remember I was working at a New York law firm, big New York law firm that also went out of business my first summer. And they were saying that the largest law firms They even have people that are responsible just for one section of a contract. That's their entire job, is understanding a few pages of a contract. That's how in depth and how much money the clients they work for had to throw at problems. And when you get at smaller firms, what happens is you're working for smaller clients. So at insurance defense firm, you may be working for defending people that are in slip and falls or in auto accidents and that sort of thing. And because of that, the insurance companies aren't willing to pay a lot of money. You're not going to go very far in depth, lots of memos and research and drafts and briefs and things. You're just going to have to get the work done as quickly as possible. And that's going to affect the type of attorney you are, because if the law firm isn't expecting high quality work or doesn't have the money to give you high quality work, then you're kind of going to be coasting throughout your career without learning how to do things the way they should. And, I hate to say it, but it's true. Lawyers in large law firms are very arrogant and believe that they're much better attorneys when they come up against attorneys from smaller firms, because they know that the quality of work that they're doing, the depth of work that they're doing is going to be better. And in transactions and then in litigation, the large law firms often win. They have the ability to research and do all sorts of different motions to go to slip things into contracts that the attorneys from other firms aren't able to see, and all sorts of things that the larger the firm you go to, the more likely you are to be doing the highest quality work. And it's also, there are boutiques and smaller firms that do very high quality work, but it's all really dependent upon the law firm's clients and how serious and how much money the law firm's clients have to throw at problems. There's another thing too that I just wanted to talk to you about in terms of work quality that a lot of people don't think of. So when you go to the largest cities, that's where the most important work is often done. So I was reading not too long ago Michael Dell's biography, and he was working he was living in Texas where Dell was located, and he was doing all of these sophisticated corporate transactions. And there's a lot of very good firms, major firms in Texas, but all he talked about was how he kept flying to New York to work with attorneys, and he was, working with these big firms in New York, like Lateral and all these, and the idea was that he was looking for the highest quality work, so he was moving to even bigger cities than there were in Texas to get the work done, because the perception was that the attorneys there were doing much higher quality work. So typically the largest cities will get the most sophisticated work because there's more attorneys to choose from there. People from the best law schools go there. And so you're going to get most of the time, not all the time, better quality work when you're working in larger cities. But law firms in smaller cities, the smaller you go, will be working for smaller clients. And because they're working for smaller clients, you will often not be expected to do as high quality work. Oftentimes, the attorneys will not have the same pedigrees as the attorneys from the largest law firms. And so, you won't be working around the smartest people. And the smartest people typically have different ways of looking at problems. And it's really kind of the same thing based on the law school you go to. So if you go to a major law school, you're going to be around very smart people. You're not really paying to go to a really good law school because you're learning anything different. You're paying to go to a good law school, and you're trying to get into a good law school because the perception is that the people that you're around will make you rise, and they will have different standards in terms of where they want to work, in terms of the cities they want to work in terms of they will understand practice areas often better because they'll watch what other people from that school did. And so when you go to a really good law school, that's kind of what you're paying for. It's not, people come out of Yale and they want to do public interest, or they want to do government, or they want to teach. And so different law schools will have different things that they impress upon you. If you go to NYU, it'll be working in a big law firm, or if you go to Columbia, it's often the same. If you go to a lower ranked law school, it'll often be working in a smaller firm. So your goal throughout your entire career needs to be to get high quality work. And back to the smaller cities, it's often, people often think, oh, I would like to live in, I mean, I've seen people go to work in Honolulu, or I would like to work in, I don't know, Charleston, South Carolina, or they want to work in these different markets, but they never realize that once you're working in smaller markets, the clients most often aren't going to have the money to have really, really good work done. So your goal, like what you need to think about, especially as a young attorney, is to be able to get higher quality work. And that means that if you're in one practice area, for example, if you're doing insurance defense, I had a candidate recently who was doing insurance defense and really wanted to move out of that to do product liability, which is a practice area where the clients are going to have more money to spend. And so he was successfully able to do that and get higher quality work. Partners will even move quite often in order to get high quality work. So I'm working with several partners right now, and those partners are at firms that don't have the name recognition, or the people don't think of as highly clients. So it holds them back in terms of the caliber of clients they're able to get. So that also affects the quality of work. So, when you're looking for firms and you're trying to move, you should be very, very careful about who you're casting your lot with. Are you casting your lot with law firms that are likely to have the highest quality work, or are you casting your lot with someone that may just be paying more because they need to, and the work isn't as high quality? So the work you get and the sophistication of it is a hugely important thing. I mean, it's something that people don't realize. It affects your ability to be a good attorney. It affects your income, because the larger the firm you're at, the more the clients are paying, and the more the law firm can pay. So the only reason that you have this kind of crevasse scale and the firms that pay the most is because all of these big firms are kind of competing for the same people, and all of these big firms want to make sure that that they're doing, that they pay what they need to in order to get the best associates, and then those associates go there and they will get high quality work. So, again, it's very, very common for people that are looking for jobs to not consider the quality of work. They may think, oh, a classic one is attorneys that are moving firms because they want better hours. And so they'll move to a smaller firm that may give them better hours, but then the work isn't as sophisticated. And it affects the type of attorney they're going to be, because they're not going to be looking at problems and things the same way. It's all about the quality of work you get. And then the larger the clients, the more money you can make, because the clients are able to write bigger checks. And then the more you work on these type of clients, the more the better attorney you're going to be. It's just how it works. I mean, when you work around people that have very, very high standards for their work, it's going to affect the way you look for jobs. So you may be at a firm and you find the work not sophisticated, like you're working for smaller clients. You may not be getting enough of the type of work that you want, and you may not feel challenged. And this, by the way, is one of the absolute best reasons for moving. So when I work with attorneys, there's always a perception that if the attorney is just looking for a job and there's not really any good reason for them other than they don't like the current firm or whatever, it's very difficult. It's much easier to get a position when you go to a new firm and you say, hey, I want to get more sophisticated work. I'm doing very good work here, but the firm doesn't have enough money to look deeply into problems. I want to be more specialized. The law firm's giving me just all these different types of work, and I'm not able to specialize. And law firms love that. So law firms love it when people are able to, when people are looking for positions and they are moving because there's better, there's better work for them to do. Like they're in a position where the work quality and the amount of work they're being given is not good enough, and so they want to move to a new firm where they're getting more sophisticated work. And if a law firm sees that when they're interviewing you and you have a reason for moving, they respect that. I mean, they want to work with people that that are doing the best quality work possible, and want to move up. And moving up is always respected compared to other reasons of moving. So moving up is a big deal. People often want more hands-on experience, and that's a good reason for moving. So what does that mean? That means certain firms will often isolate you from working with clients, meaning you're not going to get a lot of experience having direct contact with clients. And so not having direct contact with clients is something that can often hold you back in a pretty big way. So people want to get more contact with clients. An attorney may want to have the opportunity to go to court or to work on more important motions, or a corporate attorney may want to work on more sophisticated transactions and be more involved in that. So that's a very good reason to move. If you want to get more responsibility and the law firm you're at doesn't give you that responsibility, you feel that responsibility would really benefit you in your career. Another reason that people will often move is just because there's a slowdown in their area. So the slowdown means there's just not enough work and the quality of work that you really want to get. So quality of work is just a major issue, and it's a very good one for moving. When law firms see that, they're often very enthusiastic. They want to hire you because there's they can give you more sophisticated, because you want to get more sophisticated work, and they believe that you will appreciate it if you go to a firm that has more sophisticated work and want to grow from that. So the next one is professional growth, and the professional growth may mean that you're around people that are going to help develop you. Sometimes you'll get to a law firm and you'll find that you're just kind of a cog in the wheel, like you're just someone that they're hiring because they want to give work to. They're not necessarily trying to grow you as an attorney. They're just trying to give you work that may not be that important. And so, or they won't really try to grow you as an attorney. There'll be no mentorship. There'll be nothing that will really grow you as an attorney. There's a firm in Los Angeles that I like a lot, and they when people come there, they want people to get business as quickly as possible, and so they show them like what you need to do in order to develop business. They show them the procedures you need to follow, and how you go out and meet clients and potential clients, and how you do that. And that's a very important thing. One of the reasons a lot of times that litigators like to go to work for judges is because they may be in a small chamber with one other clerk, or sometimes they're the only clerk, and it's an opportunity that they'll almost never have again in their careers to work with someone that's going to give them lots of input on their work and make them a better attorney by discussing cases with them, by discussing things that they're writing, by working very closely with them and mentoring them. And it's one reason that lots of times law firms love to hire clerks, because those clerks will enable them, will have gotten that sort of input and become much better at a lot of the mechanics of being a litigator. So other law firms, you need to be concerned about whether or not you're getting feedback from them. So is a law firm meeting with you and giving you reviews? Are you getting informal talks with or formal talks with partners about what you can do to improve? Are there people that are willing to give you input even when it's not part of a formal review system, and make you a better attorney? Are you in a firm where information is being shared about your advancement potential and about things you need to do? And a lot of times you won't be. I mean, you could be in a firm where you're not getting that sort of information. And so, you may, there's firms that are, where there's a separation between partners and associates, and partners won't really socialize or, work very closely with associates in the firm. And they won't tell them about, the firm's culture and who to know, who to look out for, who to avoid, uh, what to do with certain clients that are very difficult to work with, and just give you a lot of input. And that's very, very valuable. There are firms where partners are friends with associates, and where they give them inside information, and they tell them who's got work to do and things like that. And that is very important for your professional growth. I mean, you need to understand, what is your role in this firm? What is how are people helping you? And again, like, this happens to associates, but it's also something that's very, very common with partners. So partners may switch firms because they want to be in a situation where they're working closely with other partners, and other partners are referring them business, and they're kind of in a good situation because of that. And then other firms may be the exact opposite. The other firms, the partners will all be siloed and not communicate with each other, and that can be very, very upsetting to partners at different levels. And so, when you're in any stage of your career, you need to understand, like, what kind of feedback are you getting? Are people around you trying to make you a better attorney? Are you getting information and insight into how the firm works? I mean, could that be different elsewhere? So, the reasons for moving, that can often be a very, very good reason. Like, you just feel like completely isolated. You feel like there's no advancement potential. You feel like you're unhappy, and you feel like partners just kind of don't look at you as a peer. They treat you in a very different sort of way. So you need to understand, the opportunities potentially for growth in new firms, and how those firms are going to enable you to grow as an attorney, and how you're going to be able to grow professionally. Growing professionally, by the way, means that you will often be able to become an expert in doing kind of rote work when you start, and then as you do a better job of that, you are able to do more and more sophisticated work, and you just kind of keep rising. And so professional growth is very, very important. So you need to understand what the feedback's like. Are you getting good feedback from more senior people? Are you understanding what you're doing wrong? I had a situation recently. It was about a real estate attorney, and there were about four associates in the real estate department, and that were on this attorney's age in class year, and he was working with partner. He was they were all working with the same few partners that had business, and he uh, he went to the firm, and he was just working and doing work he was assigned, and he was smart. He'd gone to, I think, University of Michigan Law School, and but they sat him down fairly early, like 6 months, and they said, you don't seem to have the same hunger for this. You're not pushing yourself the way you would to rise here. You just don't seem engaged. And it was interesting. I worked with him for a couple months, and I finally got him an offer at a good firm that had a lot of work. It wasn't as large of a firm, and he got this offer, and he just kept sitting on it. And I was like, "Well, what's wrong?" And he said, "Well, I thought a lot about it, and when I was when I was when I was getting feedback, and he'd been fired from this job. When I was getting feedback, they said, this is not something you really want. You're not really hungry." And he kept thinking about that. And he said, "That's right. I really don't have that." And he ended up going to work. He was a real estate attorney for a friend of his who was starting a litigation firm instead of being back on track. So sometimes the feedback can make you understand that you should leave. And then another thing that almost all associates need to have is they need to be in a position where they try to get a mentor. And a mentor is important for a lot of reasons. A mentor is someone that will take you aside and tell you what you're doing wrong in a nice way, that will allow you to ask them questions and improve as an attorney, that will uh, just in a myriad of ways to become to advance. And without that mentor, you're just kind of out there cast in the waters, and there's no one out there to defend you. So mentors are extremely important. I was working not too long ago with a guy that had gone to Harvard Law School. He'd been on Harvard Law Review, and out of school, he got a very, very good job with a very, very good firm. And he had been there for 8 years and doing the work that he was asked. But when it came time to make partner, he didn't have anybody that would stick up and stand up for him and say, "This is the person that I think you should, make partner. This is why I think you should make partner." He was just someone without a mentor, and ended up leaving and starting his own practice, even though he was a senior associate. So these mentors are hugely important. Like you need to find a mentor at any firm that you go to, and you need to, if you can, in interviews, you need to find someone that you believe you can connect with. You need to be in a situation where you're likely to. There's people that are going to help you advance in your career. It's absolutely 100% necessary to get a mentor. And uh, also, there's different types of mentors. Like what type of mentor do you want? So a lot of times people will make mentors with partners that may be an income partner that doesn't have a lot of pull, or a partner that doesn't have a lot of business, or a partner that's very negative on the firm. And the best sort of mentors you can get are partners that have a lot of business and a lot of work. And that goes so far, because law firms, if you're making partner, will respect that partner's decision. Partners, by the way, have mentors that give them work that they started working with throughout their career. Partner with a lot of work, if it comes time to make you partner, the law firm's going to want to do what they want, because they don't want to lose that partner in their business. So mentors are very, very important. You want a mentor that has a lot of work. You want a mentor that is going to allow you to do all the work you possibly can for them if they have business. You just need to be really, really cognizant of making sure that you have mentors that are able to give you lots of work, and do that throughout your career. I have lots of stories of attorneys getting really good mentors. I was not too long ago sitting on a plane with someone that was his partner in one of the top 3 or 4 most prestigious firms in Los Angeles, and he started out his career working almost exclusively with this one partner that had a very big book of business, like 10 or 20 million dollars, and he just ended up kind of being next to him in an office, or very, very close to him. And then that partner would started giving him all this work. And what happened is, after 7 or 8 years working there, the partner was getting pretty close to retirement. And so the partner, basically, when he retired, he gave this associate all of this business. And as part of doing that, and on his way out, made sure he made partner. And so this partner was just never had to develop business. They just had a really, really good mentor. I've seen other cases where many of them, where a partner may be working in a giant firm, like one of the largest firms in the country, and they're working for that firm, and the law firm will they'll be very, very close to a partner with a lot of business, and they never develop business. They're just because their mentor is so strong, the mentor wants them to work for them, and the law firm they want to make them partner, and they have plenty of work for them to do. So mentors are really something that everyone needs to develop in their career. You need to make sure that you always have mentors if you can. And again, the better the mentor, the better off you're going to be. And you may find yourself in a firm where you have a mentor. So if you leave and you have a mentor, you're making a mistake. Or you may find yourself in a firm where you don't have a mentor, and where the partners will not mentor you. You just will realize that they will they will only go so far in terms of helping you, or they won't really help you. And oftentimes they're doing that because they don't believe that you're going to be around for a long time. And that's just how it works with most of the associates there. So finding a mentor can really change the course of your career and your life. It's one of the most important things you can do. And if you can go to a firm if you interview at firms and someone pops out to you that you really like, you see can be your mentor, and they give you that indication, then it's very, very smart to move. Other attorneys want to get more client contact, and that becomes a reason for moving. They will basically be in an office and sitting there doing the same type of work over and over again, and they don't feel like they have any contact with clients. They're unhappy for that reason, and they believe that without client contact, their careers are going to suffer. I would say to a lot of people on this webinar that you should think about is, if you're not getting a lot of client contact, that doesn't mean you won't get client contact in the future. That just means that the law firm is trying to develop you more and more as a good attorney before they allow you to have client contact. They don't want you to make mistakes, and they want to make sure that you know what you're doing. So getting client contact is important for a lot of attorneys, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be moving to a better firm. It just means that you need to move. It just means that you need to see if that's something that's ever going to happen in your career. And client contact is something also that a lot of attorneys really strive to get, and they feel that without it, their careers are not going anywhere. And the classic case is litigators that want to go to court, or litigators that want to have to be able to go do to trials and things like that. But many times you have to just realize if that's your goal, you may be going to a smaller firm where the billing rates aren't as high and they can afford to give you that work. And then the other, of course, reasons for professional growth are when the partner prospects at your firm are limited. And what does that mean? That means that if you go to some of the largest firms in the country, there may be 30 people each year that are up to be considered for partner, and they may make one or two. And so your prospects of making partner at that firm and advancing are limited. And if you don't make partner, you're going to have to often start looking for a job. And so you need to understand, how likely does it look that I'm going to be able to be a partner? Like does it look like I'm not going to be partner because it's too competitive, or does it look like I'm not going to make partner because there's people that are getting more work, that have better contacts within the firm? And so when you're in that situation, it's often a very good idea to move. Like, you shouldn't be trying to stay in a firm where you're not going to be able to make partner. It's not often a good idea. So in terms of what people do in that situation, people will often move to smaller firms. People will often just move to firms and say this is exactly what they want. I had something very interesting happen years ago. I was working with a woman that was at Aiken Gump, which is a good firm, and but realized that it was not going to be something where she could become partner. And so she and I did this search and she was she was a bankruptcy attorney. She and I did this search where we contacted tons of large law firms in New York, and basically, like, she wants a partner. Like, she's not happy in the senior associate role. And I told her that I thought it was going to be close to impossible, but she ended up getting a job as a partner, not an income partner, but as a partner in a major law firm. And that was her goal, and she had done it. And the firm was just as good of a quality as the one she was at. And that's why she was looking for a job. She wasn't looking for a job because she didn't have enough work at Aiken Gump. She was looking for a job because she knew she knew that it would be very, very difficult for her to make partner in that office. And just to kind of touch on becoming a partner in various firms, when you're trying to be a partner in law firms, you have to kind of put yourself in a situation where you understand what's going on in the firm you're at and why the prospects may be limited. So these are just a few things to consider when you're joining a firm or when you're thinking of leaving a firm. Oftentimes, you have these national firms that have offices all over the country, and yet they have a main office where kind of all the power is, where the people that can make you partner are all located there, where you're where unless you have relationships with those people, you're going to have a very, very difficult time. So branch offices in law firms are very, very dangerous. They may hardly ever make partner. The branch office could be a cost center, not a profit center, and they don't want to make people partners. So branch offices are often very, very dangerous just from the standpoint of your partnership prospects. And it's something that you need to be aware of, that if you know, you're in a branch office, your prospects may be limited. And what do you do in that situation? Well, if you're in that situation, it may make sense for you to leave because your partnership prospects are limited. There's a firm in Los Angeles that's New York. It's an office of a large New York law firm, and it does work for a couple very large clients that are based in Los Angeles, but all those relationships are uh, based in New York. And so the kind of people are sitting there. There's a couple partners from the New York office, and then they hire senior associates and other people to work for them. But the prospects of people making partner there are almost impossible. So in the 30 years that firm's had an office in Los Angeles, they've never made a partner. So understanding like how people make partner uh, at a firm and what your odds are, it's just extremely difficult. I know people that I've worked with several that worked at Cravath, which is an incredibly prestigious firm. But again, that's one of these firms where it's almost impossible to make partner. There's just not enough seats. The standards of being a partner are very, very high. So when you're in that situation, you should always try to take your skills to some place where you have the ability to make partner. And a lot of people don't understand, why it's so important to be partnered. They think that if they're a partner, they're going to get more income. They're going to get some of the profits of the firm. They're going to have all these things happen, but that's just often not the case. And so, if you make partner at a smaller firm, a larger firm, it's often not the case. But the prospects of making partner often will force you to move to smaller firms where they can, where they have the ability to make you partner. And being a partner is just so important because clients aren't often going to want to hire an associate to do work for them. They're going to want to hire someone with that title. So getting that title enables you to go get work, and that's exactly what a lot of the large law firms do. They will make you a income partner, like on salary, but once you have that title, you're expected in the next couple of years to go out and develop enough business. And if you don't, lose your job. It's very, very common, something that I see all the time. The next thing is firm culture. So firm culture is extremely important. I can walk into law firms and right away I can understand and get the sense of what that culture is like, if I'd be comfortable there, what the just how I feel, how the people interact, the personalities, all this sort of stuff. I remember interviewing at the first firm I worked at, and I went into my my second or third interview, and there was a couple of associates, and I couldn't believe it. They were both, I think, graduates of Harvard Law School. There were a couple of associates chewing tobacco while they were interviewing me. It was called dipping, and I was like, wow, like this is so cool, because I used to chew tobacco when I was younger, and I thought, just wow, if these people are chewing tobacco, I'm going to be so comfortable there. And then I got into another one and another interview, and they were talking about going out to clubs and things, drinking, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool too. And I really clicked with the people there. This is just the person I was back then, and I knew that that would be a really good place for me to work, because the other options were going to firms where I wasn't as comfortable with the culture. So you can just get a sense very, very quickly when you're working in a place if the culture is good for you or not. There are cultures that are just very rigid, and that's what people are comfortable with. There are cultures that have tons of rules, and that's what people they're like, and there are cultures that don't, and that so all these cultures that you join will really determine your success, because when you click with people, when you have those relationships, things are just going to go so much farther for you. And so you need to put yourself into cultures where you're getting positive feedback, and where people are uh, making you feel good, and where you're connecting with people, and where you can see yourself being comfortable. And what does being comfortable mean? It means that you're working in the firm, and you're just comfortable with the people there. You're at ease. You understand how they think. You understand the cultures. And law firms, I mean, they just have, like, every single one of them has their own unique culture, and the culture really will make you either happy or not. I mean, some law firms, the culture is such because they have so much work. They have so much work because they're doing a really good job for their clients, and so everyone's happy, and they're excited, and they do good work, and they're handing out work. Other cultures don't have enough work, and partners are hoarding work, and the partners are competitive with another. I mean, it's just there's so much that goes into culture, so you need to understand that. And you uh, you know you may have to take phone calls at midnight at some firms. You may have to always you know be uncomfortable for whatever reason. You may not like how you're treated. And so, if you're spending 50% of your life someplace, you need to be in a place that has the type of culture that you're interested in, and where you're working for the type of people that you would like to work with. It's incredibly important, and something that you really need to consider. There's an article that I wrote that you can look up on BCG, and I wrote it. It was one of the first articles that I ever wrote in BCG, and it's called "Firm Culture Matters Most," and it kind of goes into a lot of detail about this. But being around people that you're comfortable with, being around people that you like, being around people that put you at ease is just extremely important. And so, these are some of the reasons that a culture may not work with you, be good for you. There's often personality conflicts, meaning you don't, the people are just, it's just, there's not, the personalities don't work for you. It doesn't mean, that there's something, wrong with you. It just means you're in a firm, um, that's not, the kind of place uh, where you're going to be comfortable. And so there may be a personality conflict, and you can't control that. I mean, you can't control. Some people will look at you and they will see something great, and then they will be very comfortable with you. Other people will look at you and will see the opposite. I remember, this is a very simple thing. The second law firm I worked at, everyone was expected to wear a suit and tie, and this partner came by and wanted to take an associate and I out to lunch. And when he came up to me, he looked down and he saw that my shoes weren't shined, and he didn't like that. I could tell he was very upset by it, and that was not the sort of culture, where I had to have perfectly shined shoes and stuff all the time that I was comfortable with. And this partner happened to be the one in the firm with the most business. So these personality conflicts, or different ways of looking at you, are very important. I mean, you have groups of people, like friends and things, that friend groups you're not comfortable with, and you want to do something else. You have all these different types of people that you may meet and go out on dates, and sometimes things click and other times they don't. So these personality conflicts are hugely important. And then sometimes you'll just get bad reviews, even though you think you're doing very good work, and that may be because of culture. Like, people that fit in with the culture are often not going to do that well. Some firms, if you want a diverse firm, some firms are not diverse enough. There's no people that you're comfortable with. That can be based along, race lines. It can be even based on different people from different backgrounds. It can be based on all sorts of different things. I had this woman not too long ago that was in a large law firm, I think like in Philadelphia or something like that. And she was working in this firm, and she got an offer, and I don't know how it ended up coming about, but in like Greensboro, South Carolina or something, at another firm that needed someone with her expertise, which I don't remember what it was, but they had a couple clients who needed someone like her to do work. And so she went to work there, and she got to work there, and she'd been there like a month or two, and she was single in this small town, and smaller town. It was very hard to meet people, and not only that, but all the partners in the firm had gone to like one of two high schools in the area. There were only two high schools in the city, and they all kind of knew each other. And their wives were friends with other partners' friends, and they all kind of went to the same couple of churches and things. And so there wasn't a diverse type of group of people for her to associate with. And diversity is a big deal. I mean, diversity means are people of your background comfortable in a firm? Like, can you be gay and be comfortable? Can you be a different race and be comfortable? A different religion and be comfortable? And many times you'll find that there are firms where they may say they're diverse, but they're not. Diversity means that there's people like you from your similar backgrounds that you can associate with and be and get work from. And if you don't have that, you're just oftentimes in trouble. And this is one reason diversity is emphasized a lot when law firms are hiring. But people get to these law firms, and there really isn't diversity. Like they're not able to associate with people that they're comfortable with. And diversity means a lot of things. It means that you may find yourself excluded. Like there's not a lot of people like you that you click with, and so they kind of all go out to lunch. Or if they go out to lunch, their backgrounds are just so much different than yours that you're not comfortable with them. You can't be friends with those sorts of people. There's not enough people like you, and people like you will often leave the firm because they feel uncomfortable. And this is diversity. I wrote a book about diversity, and when I looked at it, I was looking, of course, racial lines and things like that. But what I realized is, one of the biggest problems with diversity is sometimes people from certain backgrounds just won't be able to fit in with that culture. I mean, there's firms I interviewed once when I came out to LA, and I was coming out from Michigan, where it was a very good firm, and but it was a branch office of a major firm, and there was maybe I don't know, 8 associates and 3 partners or something. But at least 4 of the associates I interviewed with were gay, and that's a good thing, because if someone was gay and they wanted to work there, they would be much more comfortable. And this is years ago when the diversity wasn't as emphasized. So that's important. Or if people from your racial background go to the firm and tend to stay, or do they leave? And so diversity. And why is that? And so are they not integrated into the culture that well? And so that's very important. I mean, it's all very important. And sometimes people, the culture of the firm will just be too extreme. There'll be far too many hours that are required. Like the law firm will demand that you work these just crazy hours, and there's no way for you to get away from that. Like the hours that the firm is requiring are just completely draining. It's at the point where it's abusive. I mean, there are firms, major firms all around the country. There's some where they actually have a closet where they will give you a white shirt or a blue shirt, in your size, to wear if you're working all night in the office. And it's just, and it happens a lot. So that's just, from the standpoint of just health and all that sort of thing, you're just not in a good situation when you work in a firm like that. So you may want to decrease your billable hours. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, you just can't be expected to be a slave forever and to work these sorts of hours that are hurting your health and your prosperity. I mean, I've seen people go to law firms, and the demands on their time and the demands on their their inability to exercise, their inability to relax, their inability to take vacations. After a certain number of years, I mean, it just takes its toll. Like I remember I was working in a firm early in my career, and I hadn't cut my hair in like 3 months or 4 months, and it was just crazy. And I hadn't cut it because I hadn't had the time. Other people, you can see them when they join these very demanding firms and they stay there. Their weight increases. They break out in zits and things because they're eating nothing but very unhealthy food, and they're constantly stressed, and they're not able to hold together marriages. And so decreasing your billable hours is something that is very important if you're in a situation where it's just something that you can't handle. And very high billable hours, by the way, the reason that those can often be so dangerous is it's not just the effect on your health and your well-being, but it's also means you don't have time to go out and try to get clients. You're just constantly billing. There's nothing you can do. So that's just a bad culture for you. I mean, it just couldn't work. I mean, if you're in that situation, so you should leave. And then sometimes it's just the firm's philosophy, regarding clients or maybe the world. I was talking to a very successful partner with a huge book of business recently. He had moved from a large New York law firm to a smaller firm, a Midwestern firm with a Los Angeles office. And he said that one of the reasons he did that is this New York firm would just, every time they did this type of transaction he did, they would charge like $800,000 or $900,000. But when he moved to the smaller firm, he could get it done for like $300,000. So that was much more, it was better for his clients. This New York firm's philosophy was just to work up matters as much as they could. And different firms have different philosophies. They look at clients in one way. They want to help them and not overbill them. Other firms want to overbill them, or different firms just have all these different types of cultures that can really make a huge difference in where you should be working. And I can't stress culture enough. I had a situation years ago where I had this candidate, and he was someone I actually knew personally, and he was in the Bay Area, and he had lost his job at a big firm in the Bay Area because he didn't like the work that they were giving him. He wanted to do white collar work, and that particular firm didn't have a lot of white collar work, but they told him when they hired him, if they had any, they would give it to him. And so he got there and they started giving him general commercial litigation work. And he said, I'm not going to do this work because, I wanted to be hired as a white collar associate, and you're not giving me that work. So that they obviously didn't like that. They let him go. And after they let him go, he started interviewing at different firms, and he found this firm in San Francisco. He was a member of the Federalist Society and a Republican and all these things. He found this firm in San Francisco that had a lot of the type of work that he wanted to do. But not only that, but they were also like one of the only firms probably in San Francisco that had nothing but Republicans and things. It was very strange. I mean, San Francisco is typically a very liberal area, which I'm sure you're aware of, is where Kamala Harris came and all this, and so Nancy Pelosi and all these people that are really from this very kind of unique culture. So he got an offer there, and then he also got an offer at a major law firm in San Francisco. I'm sorry, New York City, and the firm in New York City paid a lot more, like probably 30% more than the job offer he got at this firm that matched his culture and everything in San Francisco. And so he decided that he was going to take this much higher paying job, and that the firm in San Francisco wasn't going to have demanding hours. He was going to be around people that were just like him. This particular firm, by the way, had never used a recruiter, but in the case of him, they wanted to use a recruiter because they'd never seen anything like this. I mean, coming across their desk was conservative, and he had clerkships and gone to a top 10 law school. And so, but the firm he took a job with was in New York, and he got there and he was working like 7 days a week, and he did it for 2 years and was just completely exhausted and quit, and ended up not being so disillusioned with the practice of law that he became a contract attorney, and then started a small firm with a friend of his that didn't really give him enough work, and so he was also a contract attorney on the side. And so that's a case where someone chose the wrong culture and became completely blown away by the firm, by going to this firm where he just thought he can make more money in the short run, and he ended up kind of tanking his career. I had another instance where I was working with a woman, and she'd gone to UC Berkeley, and out of law school had joined this firm in San Francisco, and I mean a good firm, like a Am Law 100 law firm. And one day, and she wasn't comfortable there, but she did her work. She was kind of formal, but just and kind of if people said things that didn't make sense, she would correct them, and I ended up getting to know her personally. But she took this job at this firm, and one day they just walked into her office and they said, this just isn't a good fit. We're going to give you 6 weeks to look for a job, but it's not a good fit. It had nothing to do with the quality for work. It just had everything to do with her not being part of that culture and way of thinking, actually to the point where they were uncomfortable with her. So that's a big deal. Other law firms you may be uncomfortable with because I said earlier that they're just looking to bill their clients as much as possible. You may see ways when you're there that you don't have to do that, and that will often impact your success there. Now, the other reason for moving is often, personal reasons. So these are all good reasons to move firms if it seems like a smart thing for you to do. So pay is a big one. There are law firms that don't pay a lot. You may, when you come out of law school, find yourself in a law firm that doesn't have the money to pay you or the kind of salary you want, and that's the best you can do. And then you're out for a few years and you realize that you can make much more money at another firm. I had a woman that was at a big law firm in Washington, D.C., and they were paying her $300,000 a year, but yet she had a book of business that was $3 million, and she just kind of was oblivious to the importance of that. And one day she applied at BCG, and I called her, and I said that this is just crazy. Like I can't believe that they're only paying you this amount of money. Like you should probably be making $1 million a year instead. And she couldn't believe it. Like, and these were people. She was an associate, it was like 8th or 9th year. She was data privacy when that was kind of a big practice area that was taken off. She couldn't believe how underpaid she was, and so she moved, and she started looking at other firms. Another important thing is the location of the firm. So what does that mean? That means that the law firm literally could be in a bad location where you can't work. Like in Los Angeles, there's certain areas. There's like downtown Los Angeles, and then there's something out loud here. There's the west side of Los Angeles. There's like Century City and so forth. So if you live on the areas around downtown, which is like Pasadena and Arcadia and things, and you get a job in Century City, I mean, your commute could be 90 minutes a day, in the morning, or maybe sometimes longer. And so that would not be a good location. You would have to choose firms mainly downtown. Sometimes, the location of the firm may be in an area where you're just not comfortable living, or you may want to go home. So it's very common for attorneys to want to move home, meaning they want to go to the city where they grew up or where their parents are and that sort of thing, and they want to leave. So this is a very good reason to leave. And just to give you some background about moving because of location, when you move because of location, law firms, especially if you're moving to some place you're from or you have a good reason for moving there, are often much more receptive to your application. It's almost always because you're moving to a place where you're likely to stay and put down roots. It's not because they don't suspect you're moving because of the quality of your work or being asked to leave. And so those things, leaving for location related reasons are a very, very good reason for people to leave. You may be wanting to increase your compensation, which is an important point. One of the things about increasing your compensation is that when you become an expert in some sort of subject matter, you often can find yourself moving to a firm with higher compensation. When you get out of law school, you're often only working for the best job you can get. It may not pay a lot, and then when you get experience, you can often move and get better compensation. Sometimes people want to move just to larger markets where there's more, better compensation. I've had candidates move from, I remember once a year or two ago, I had a succession of two candidates that were working at this firm in Detroit, Hanma Miller, and one of them wanted to move to New York, and the other one wanted to move to Chicago. They wanted to be in a larger market with better compensation. So that was a good reason to move. Sometimes people will move. It's very, very difficult, but they will move because they want to change practice areas. Now, changing practice areas is difficult. So if you want to change from like corporate to litigation, that's going to be very difficult. And moving to change practice areas, I mean, you can certainly do that, but it's often extremely difficult to change practice areas from something that's like transactional litigation or litigation and transactional. But you may be at a firm where that's impossible, and you may have the ability to move and switch practice areas. So that's very, very important. Some people just hate doing corporate work, and they would be much happier writing and arguing, and so that would be a good reason to move. Satellite offices are, again, as I told you earlier, a big danger. Like if there's not opportunities for partner, if the law firm's not bringing in their own work and they're getting work from the main office or whatever, that could be a good reason for moving. And sometimes you may just feel that things aren't working out. I mean, you're not succeeding there. You're not getting the kind of work you want. Whatever the culture, things I talked about much earlier in terms of reasons to move. So all these things, the quality of the work you're being given, which is important, make you a better attorney, professional growth, like having opportunities to grow, and then personal choices are going to have a huge degree of importance for your career. And this is something that people just don't realize. I mean, people don't realize how important these things are. They don't understand, why they, how to, why these things are important in their career, and so they put themselves in a situation where they're just not happy or they're not growing. And so these are all very, very good reasons to move, and you need to move if you feel like you can do better. I've seen people start out their career and not a good firm because it was the only job that they could get, because maybe they had bad grades in law school, maybe they didn't go to the best law school, maybe they didn't work as a summer associate in a firm, so it was difficult for them to get a job, and so they got a job, and then they just did really, really good work there. They threw themselves into the practice area. They just did everything they could to be a good attorney, and then they started getting, realizing that they could do better, and they moved, and then they moved again, and then they moved again. And so all these things can really make a huge difference, in your success as an attorney. Being in the right culture is really going to make, a big difference for you. Being in a place where there's professional growth, being in a place where, you're going to get quality work. But these things are very important. I mean, you're very smart being on this webinar, because it's showing you the things you need to do and how you need to perform in order to be doing the best you can, and using the resources at your disposal. Law firms, by the way, when they want you to leave, they will often give you these just horrible reviews, regardless of how well you're doing, or they'll just review your work in a way that is just completely demoralizing. Now, early in your career, you have to learn how to be an attorney. And so when you're learning how to be an attorney, you will get often very difficult reviews, but they will be that with some sort of encouragement, like you can fix all these things. But if they're not, the law firm's just giving you nothing but negativity, you need to consider that that's possibly a good reason to move. And so, and some firms won't give you reviews. And if they don't, sometimes you'll be in a situation where other attorneys have reviewed, but not you, and they may not be reviewing you because they want you to leave. So, you have to really look at how you're doing. You have to, when you're getting reviews, you have to tell the firm that you really want to be there, you really want to do a good job, and then but if you're at a place where you're unhappy, you have to really think about why what you can do to get into a happy environment. And I will say that there's no reason for an attorney to be unhappy in a firm. Like, you need to find a place where you're happy and where the work's good and where you find that there's opportunity. And these things are just incredibly important for all attorneys, to be in a place where you're happy. And you may believe, because you're in a law firm where you're unhappy, you may believe that you're never going to be happy practicing law, and it just has to do with the firm, or you're never going to, you're just miserable every day. And many times, just switching firms and finding a place that you like more is just hugely important, guiding in your work and all sorts of things. So, again, to go back to, the importance of mentors. You need a mentor. You need to be in a firm where there's a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, you're not going to get access to the right information to be successful. You're not going to be told how to think about your work differently. You're not going to be told how to, anything, that matters. If you get scared with a bad review, if you get scared with working for a partner that things don't work out, if you have a mentor, then that's going to help you. And if you have a mentor, and then all of a sudden that mentor turns cold, then that's just another thing to think about as well. Like, that's usually a sign that something is going wrong. Young associates should try to get close to mid-levels and senior associates, because they can give them feedback and kind of guide them if you don't have a proper mentor. But all these things are very, very important. So, mentors, reviews and things, they are important to understand, where you're at. Young attorneys or attorneys moving to different firms may be in a situation where they don't know what they're doing, and their work is very criticized a lot. Attorneys moving to better firms from where they're at may not be doing the best quality of work compared to what the firm requires, and so you need to kind of rise to that level, and you need to kind of think about all this. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about, and this is all very important information. So I realize this talk has gone on quite a while, but I'm going to wrap it up in a few minutes. But there's different times when it's important, when you can move. And so when you go to your first firm, you can't move after 6 months. Even after a year is a little suspect. People that are moving that earlier in their career aren't in a situation where they're marketable, because it does take, it typically takes 5 years to become an expert in your practice area. But after 2 years, you know enough that when you start moving, the law firm believes that they're hiring somebody with enough skills that they don't need to do a lot of the kind of early training that the attorney needs. And so they're marketable. You're not as marketable when you don't know about what you're doing. You have to get at least typically 2 years of experience. I have, when I go into the BCG database each day and review candidates, there's always a lot of people in there that are, they're like first-year associates, and they're looking for jobs. And generally, I will just reject them, not because there's anything wrong with their background, but because no one's going to hire them, especially through a recruiter, if they don't have enough experience. And then so you're marketable after second year, and you have this kind of period where you're very, very marketable. Like, law firms will look at you very favorably when you get to your second year, through your second year, and then after you complete your 6-year practice. So after you complete your 6-year practice, you're going to be marketable from the extent that you when you're at that level, that you absolutely know what you're doing. You're not really going to be concerned about partnership for 2 or 3 years or more, and so the law firm can work you very hard, and you'll know what you're doing, and they're comfortable assigning you work. And so again, after second year, it's important. Law firms will hire you when they have work, and then anyone with that particular expertise. And so, just so you understand the importance of expertise, what that means essentially is you will become an expert in your practice area after 2 or 3 years. You will understand your practice area. And the analogy I make is like, so say there were 100 attorneys, 100 associates that came out of your law school in 1 year, and maybe only 5 of them went into your practice area. And then after 2 or 3 years, maybe only 3 of them are left. And so because there's very few people like you in the market, like you're much, much more marketable to firms that have a need for people like you, because there's not a lot of people with that expertise. And so that's one of the reasons why you become so marketable, because people, people don't become experts in a practice area. And so the law firm wants to hire people that can immediately start doing work and are trained, which is a second year associate. And then third's better, fourth's better, and then six is okay. But as you get more senior, the law firm is typically you're less marketable. So very, very important to understand the timing of all this, because if you leave after your if you're trying to move when you're more senior, it becomes very, very difficult. The market is flooded with senior associates, and there's just not enough work for them to go around because their billing rate's high. They want to be partner. They're not usually going to work as hard because they've already done that. There's all sorts of reasons, but these are kind of your perfect times to move, or between your second and 6th year, and then reason it's harder to move after your 6th year is they may have associates that started out as summer associates and have been there for 6 or 7 years, and then suddenly throwing you into the mix is someone that's going to be be a partner, and someone that can get mentors and things. It's just very, very difficult, because the law firm is, if you think about it from the law firm's point of view, if you have 10 associates that started out there as summer associates, and all of a sudden and you've been there for 7 years, and all of a sudden another 7th year shows up, that's going to be demoralizing for them. They're not going to like the fact that they've shown so much loyalty and worked so hard with the firm, and that they're potentially, that's a threat. So most senior associates are not marketable. It's just very important to understand that you have this kind of period between your 2nd and 6th year where all of your moves really should be calculated to go to a place where you feel like you're going to wind up as a partner. And when you're looking for jobs in your 2nd to 6th year, you suddenly have options to move to better firms that pay more money, or to move to firms where there's more opportunity. And so you have that short kind of length of time when you can move. Partners will move quite often when they're at a firm that doesn't pay them enough, where they don't like the other partners and all sorts of things. So the partners have all sorts of other reasons for moving. But associates, really your 2nd to 6th years when you need to really put your heels down and start looking for a position. And it's just dependent on that. Some people, when they're senior associates, they just, or even 1st year associates, sometimes they have an experience in some practice area where there's just not a lot of people like them. It's very common with like ERISA attorneys. It's often common for certain types of corporate attorneys. When the real estate market's good, it's common for real estate attorneys. There are firms that will kind of ignore your class area if there's just not enough people like you out there. I mean, there could be there's things like healthcare attorneys, or municipal law attorneys, or education attorneys. Like there's not enough people, even senior associates out there. So the law firms will often make exceptions. And this is something I do all day, every day. Like I sit there and I try to figure out how to place senior associates, how to find them work, all sorts of things. And when you become senior like that, you often are going to have to make a lot of choices about even the market that you're in. So if you're in a major market like Chicago, there's always going to be a lot of people that are senior in your practice area that are slowly getting pushed out of firms. And so what do you do in that situation if you're competing with those senior associates for a very limited amount of jobs? In big firms, you may have to go try to get jobs in smaller firms, or you may even have to move markets. Moving markets, by the way, these geographic changes is something that works very, very well for senior associates. So moving to a market where there's just not enough people like you and they can ignore your seniority is also important. So, the desperation of a firm for someone like you and, the need for someone like you, or the quality of your education. Like if you went, if you go to like Stanford Law School or, Chicago Law School or Yale and all these really good schools, like you can move as a first year associate just because, again, there's not a lot of people like you and they want your pedigree in order to hire you. So, it's very difficult, for senior associates, like I said earlier. And, the other thing is the salary you're expecting. So, when you're senior, the law firm you often have a much higher salary that's expected. So that can create a lot of problems as well. Like if you expect a very high salary, the law firm may not like that. So, the law firms have different expenses for partners. They may not have enough work for senior associates, and so it just depends on what you have, and everything for partners has to make financial sense to the firm. The business is taken into account. All these different things are very, very important for partners making a move. And I work with a lot of partners, and there's kind of two reasons that they move and why they move. One is that they're not being paid enough by their firm. The firm is not paying them a lot of the income that they want. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, we'll change in a couple of years. We'll pay you more." So sometimes the firms will pay them the income that they want. Other times, like I said earlier, the firm's client base just isn't as the way the strength that the law firm that is not strong enough for them to bring in new clients because of the name of the firm. So it's all related to business and some other things that I won't get too far into. The next thing to look at when you're moving is how long it's been since your last move. So when you're thinking about moving, you have to consider how many moves that you've already made, because if you keep moving, then the message to other law firms is that of course you're going to move again. Like there's all these resumes I see on an ongoing basis where people have been at one firm for a year, another firm for a year, another firm for a year, and when law firms see that, they're really not interested most of the time in hiring you, because not only will you not move again, but they don't know the reasons for these moves. Like it's one thing if you're moving from a small firm to a bigger firm to even bigger firm, and then the biggest firm you end up at is someplace you can stay. But if you're moving consistently, like every couple of years or every year, the perception is that people probably didn't like you, or you were just restless and couldn't stay in the firm, or you had personality conflicts with people, or you just weren't doing good work. And this is one of the main reasons that people often move a lot. Like they will not do good work. Their work won't be well received, or there'll just be things wrong with it. Like they'll disappear from the office, or they'll have other sorts of problems, and they won't be reachable, or who knows. But when people are moving a lot, there's typically fairly serious issues with why are they moving, like what's going on, and so law firms don't like that at all. Like if you're moving too much, so you need to be very much aware that if you're moving a lot, then you're going to have a lot of trouble finding a job. Now, I'm a recruiter, so obviously I get compensated based on how often, by moving people between firms. But ideally, if you're at a firm where the work's okay, if you're at a firm where you're comfortable, and there's no reason for you to move, because it sends a message the longer you're there that your work's well received, that you're loyal, that you're likely to stay in your next firm. So an attorney with 5 or 6 years of experience has been at the same firm their entire career is much more likely to get hired, even if that firm is their second firm. Law firms are businesses, and they want to introduce you to clients, and they want to be able to give you work and not get you up to speed, and they want to rely on you. And if they can't because you move too much, then it's going to be a problem. And law firms are businesses, and so they're going to hire the person from a business standpoint that's most likely to stay there for the longest. And if they don't, if you don't look like that kind of person, or it looks like you're going to move again, then the law firms, aren't going to be interested in hiring you. Now, you have to understand too, from a business standpoint, that replacing an associate costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money because when someone leaves, there's no one doing that work. So the law firm's losing money because of that. So suddenly, you're not available to do a work. Then, if you're leaving, it's also going to cost the firm money and time, because they're going to have to solicit resumes, and then in addition to soliciting resumes, they're going to have to interview people, which takes a lot of time for partners. It's partners' time lost interviewing people. They're often, they may interview 5 or 6 people for a job, so that's a lot of time and investment. So it's hugely expensive for a law firm to replace an associate. So just consider yourself, like, if you were a law firm, and who would you hire? Would you hire someone that's potentially going to cost you a lot of money to replace, or would you hire someone that's likely to stay there for the long term? So very important. The longer you're within a place, the more of a message it sends that you're likely to stay. The longer you're in a place, the more of a message that it sends that you're loyal. The longer you're in a place, the message it sends that you probably do good work, that people like you, all these sorts of things. So a new law firm that's interviewing you is going to be, very, impressed. But you shouldn't ever try to move more than 3 times in a 6-year period. People will move for all the stupidest reasons. They'll move because they other people are moving, so they think, they should get out too. They'll move because their work's harshly criticized, and they think that no one should be talking to them like that. No one should be treating them like that on the move. And so, that also sends a bad message. And so, you need to always look at not moving unless you're moving up, or you're moving to a city that you're from, or you're moving to get more sophisticated work. Like I said earlier, moving up, then you should be very careful of moving. People, you can also move because of the culture, but when you're interviewing with new firms, you need to make sure the culture is good. And anytime you move, you really need to make an effort to stay there at least 18 months at your new firm, and preferably 2 years, because before a year, the law firm's going to know if you're not working out. It will send you messages to leave. And so, if you show that you can stay there for 2 years, then it means that you're probably doing pretty good work, and that you're well received. So you need to be very careful about moving. I do not recommend moving more than once every 18 months. And you just remember that the more you move, the less marketable you're going to become. So, you have to be able to do that. Now, another thing that happens when someone's moving is the most important question that law firms are always asking is, why is this person moving? Like, what's going on with this person? Why are they moving again? Why are they moving? So the law firms will always ask that, and we have to come up with good reasons. We have to be able to say to the new law firm, like, this person's moving because of this reason or that reason. The reason has to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then the law firms aren't going to hire you. Firms do not want to hire people that are hopping between firms. Now, another consideration is when the best time to leave firms is. Typically, the best time is often between January and June. After June, if a firm has summer associates, the recruiting personnel aren't going to have a lot of options to, aren't going to be able to, aren't going to be busy enough to, they're going to have demands on their time. After January, there's always a lot of movement because people have gotten bonuses, and after getting bonuses, they will move firms. They stick around, they wait for that. And there's a few other facts to consider. firms will often have calendar years. So what those calendar years mean is they will have a budget for hiring new people. They will, these new budgets, when they take place, will give them more resources to hire people. So, the typical calendar year will start in January, but other law firms, their calendar year may start like in October. So you just need to be aware of, what those calendar years mean, and, and when the best time for you to move is. And you're not going to be aware of the calendar years when a law firm's interviewing you, but there's often a budget that takes place on January 1st. So there's often a lot more interviewing there. And then, as I said, the associates receive bonuses, and then they leave their firm. There's another other quick point I wanted to bring up as well about when the best time to move is. People typically are not looking for jobs in November and December of each year. So because they're not looking for jobs, that there's not a lot of applications coming into firms. So sometimes if you apply like in November, December, you're going to have a much better chance of getting a position than if you were to apply in any other month. So those are because there's just not a lot of other people applying, so your applications are likely to stick out. Like I said earlier, summer months are usually much slower because there's summer associates working there, and partners are working with summer associates, and they don't necessarily have time to bring people in and integrate them with their cultures. Not to say it's not done, but this is typically the way it works. And so summer programs, can make a big difference. And then, in September, there's often hiring, but at the same time, the first year associates are starting work. So that also can not necessarily always be the best time because they're working on bringing new people in. And so, they don't always have time for lateral hiring. And like I said, if you're not expecting a bonus or it's not worth it, October through December can also be good. Thanksgiving through New Year's can also be slow, but at the same time, if you're the only applicant, it's not always easy. And then it's easier. So these are some of the conclusions that about this. And I apologize for this being such a long webinar, but it's just very, very important. If you have 3 to 6 years of experience, it's much easier to move than at other times in your career. Partners with portable business are always marketable, so you should strive to always be a partner and develop business. If you're a partner, you should try to develop business because partners can always move. Partners with business, law firms will always hire them. They can always move. So, you need to, kind of get to that point where you can move with your business. And partners with business, they can move every couple of years. It's law firms where are interested in hiring people like that. So this is what we do, or I do for a living, is I come up with compelling cases and reasons for people moving to make them palatable to law firms. You certainly can do all this on your own. There will be a recording of this webinar posted shortly for those kind of questions. So I will we'll take a quick break just for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then when we come back, I will answer questions about this, about what we've covered. You don't need to ask questions just about the webinar. You can ask any questions that you have in your career. It's a very, very good time to ask questions. I charge a lot of money to people to do private consultations. And so you can kind of look at this as a private consultation where I will answer any questions that you have, and you should not be afraid to ask questions. Your name or stuff won't be shown. They're all confidential, and certainly you don't want to mention the firm you're at and stuff. But even if you did, I wouldn't post anything related to that. So just a quick break, just for 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll come back and answer questions. Thanks. Okay, so we'll start with Q&A. Let's see here. There's quite a few questions. Let me see. Okay, so this is the first question. Let me just see if I can copy and paste this. One second. Okay, the first question is, I missed the beginning of the webinar. I was wondering about average salaries for attorneys at different levels and practicing different types of law. Okay, so this is a good question. Typically, the way salaries are, different types of firms are you have, large clients and you have smaller clients. So your salary, and then you have large markets, and you have smaller markets. So what does that mean exactly? So when you work for when your firm is working for the largest clients, those clients can write big checks, and if they can write big checks, then that means that there's more money to pay associates and other people there. So that's kind of the first thing to understand, is that the size client will often make a big difference in how you're compensated. And smaller clients don't have as much money to pay people. So you have two different types of law firms. You have or practice areas. You have practice areas that are consumer facing, meaning you're doing work for individuals. And then you have law firms that are working for big companies and people with a lot of money. So the larger the client, the more money is coming into the firm, and the more money they can, they can pay you. It's the same thing with larger markets. Larger markets, the most important work typically goes there. There's larger clients and largest markets. And then the same thing with smaller markets. Like smaller markets, typically the clients are much smaller, so they don't. The law firm's not going to have as much money to pay you. Pay higher salaries. I'm trying to copy this. Just this question. 1 second. So the next question. Okay, the next question is, in what way can an attorney effectively communicate their reasons for a lateral move during interviews, particularly if the move is motivated by factors like work-life balance or firm culture rather than financial incentives? How should one address potential concerns from prospective firms about their commitment to the new role? Okay, so again, this is like one of the most important things when you're trying to move firms, is what you're saying about your reasons for moving. So, the law firms are always going to try to figure out why you're moving. And one of the things that they're looking for is has this person been fired? Is there something that they may have done wrong? So the law firm's looking at that. The law firm's looking at, is this person likely to stay as well? And so, talking about work-life balance is actually something that you certainly can allude to. You can, talk a little bit about that if the firm is a smaller firm with a different culture, with different demands of people's time and how people, how things are approached. And so people will often, talking. If you can figure that out, that's often a very good thing. And then, new firms are always going to have questions about your particular commitment to working there. Are you going to stay long term? How committed are you to being in that firm, the new firm? So they'll always look at that. But typically, when you go in an interview, law firms are businesses, so they're hiring people to do work. They'll often overlook different things, but you can't often talk about finances unless it's just a huge difference. You just need to look like somebody that the law firm is interested in hiring for long term. Okay, so next question. Okay, the next question is, for attorneys in their already in their 6th year or beyond, considering a lateral move to plateau in their career, what are the key factors they should consider? How might the timing of the move affect their prospects for partnership at a new firm. Okay, so one of the most important things for anyone that's moving is, and the number one most important thing, which I talked about earlier in this webinar, is access to work. So what does access to work mean? Access to work means that whatever law firm you're joining, you need to make sure that do your best to make sure that there's actually work there. There's work that you can do, and the law firm has the ability to keep giving you work. The reason that attorneys after their 6th year often are having a hard time is because their salaries are going up. In addition to their salaries going up, it's harder for partners to give them work because their billing rate's higher, and clients would prefer to have people that are billing at a high rate be the partner and not an associate. So anytime you're moving, you need to make sure that there's work where you're going. So it's often a smaller firm. Sometimes it could be a larger firm, depending on your practice area. But making sure that you always have access to work is the number one most important thing in your legal career. Because if you don't have access to work, you're going to be in trouble. So consider that. It's an interesting question. So if an attorney has a strong book of business, is still in their 3rd year of practice, how does this impact the timing of a lateral move? Would this be more strategic to move earlier? Should the attorney wait until they have more years of experience, and how might this affect their marketability? So I do run across quite often attorneys that maybe in their 2nd or 3rd year and have clients. I don't know how they do it, but they do. I saw one guy not too long ago that was in his 3rd year of practice and had this large book of business servicing casinos. I don't know exactly what it was, but he had some niche, was able to develop business doing that. So if you are in your very young in your career, the problem is when you develop a book of business, as you don't necessarily know how to do the work yet, and it's just kind of a little odd for you to be having this book of business because you may not be an expert in your practice area. And then law firms are often more interested in you being someone that's kind of a soldier, meaning doing the work, than someone with business. And so what often happens in larger firms when a candidate brings in a book of business is that the law firm will have someone like another partner that will actually be the contact for that book of business. So you are marketable if you have a book of business as a young attorney, but the problem with having the book of business as a young attorney is that it often is not something that law firms are interested in compared to your ability to do the work. So business early in your career is good. Law firms certainly can penalize you for it, but it's not as strong of a reason for moving. It's not taken always in the most positive way. So. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of problem. Okay, in situations where an attorney is feeling unfulfilled in their current role but has not reached their 2nd year practice, what are the potential risks of making a lateral move too early? How can one mitigate these risks while ensuring career growth and stability in your firm? So, if you're like a junior associate and there's just something wrong with the firm you're at and you're not happy, yes, you can start looking for a job. The only thing that's going to impact it is it may be a little bit harder for you to find a job when you're a new attorney because you're just not as marketable until you got some experience. But I've seen attorneys, leave or get fired after 6 months of practice and be able to get new jobs. I mean, you can get a new position earlier in your career if you leave and you have good reasons for doing so, but it can be very, very difficult. I have situations all the time where junior associates may get fired after 6 months or leave after 9 months or have a nervous breakdown or all sorts of things happen. I mean, that's life. And so when those things happen, typically your best move is often going to be geographic, meaning you can move to another market. So geographic move, which is which is one of the most easiest reasons. So just imagine you're a I don't know, an attorney doing some type of real estate, and you lose your job or your career. Well, you could, you know, if you're in Los Angeles, you may have a difficult time because it's just there's not enough. People are looking for more senior people. It just doesn't. You know, you're having a hard time getting a job. Well, you could move to a smaller market like Sacramento, and if there's not people with your background or pedigree, have an easier time getting a job. You could move to you know, all sorts of, you know, smaller markets. So I have people that lose jobs when they're very young, and they're often in big markets and they're not getting interviews. They can do a couple things. They can look at smaller law firms, which is often a very smart thing to do. Or if they're not looking at smaller law firms, they can often look at smaller markets. And so smaller markets are a great idea. Like there's all sorts of smaller markets where there's hardly any attorneys in your practice area. I mean, it could be, you know, you could be in, I don't know, San Francisco and get a job in Akron, Ohio. I mean, this kind of stuff happen all the time. So moving to markets based on the law supply and demand is often a very smart thing to do. Next question. These are all good questions, by the way. Thank you, everyone, for asking them. The next question is, how does the current firm's culture and work environment impact the decision to make a lateral move? And what strategies can attorneys use to thoroughly assess the cultural fit of a new firm before committing? What role do informal networks, such as current or former colleagues, play in gathering this crucial information? Okay, so every firm's culture and the environment is going to be different. And so how do you understand the cultural fit of the firm that you're interested in interviewing? So yes, so informal networks can work. So you can often call people that went to your law school and talk to them, and they often be frank in terms of what they tell you. You may have other people that you know that went there and ask some questions. You may have other people that are in your current firm that came from there. So you do need to try to gather as much information about the culture of the firm when you you know are interested in working there. Now, it's not easy to get a job. I mean, you know, even regardless of your background, you know, there's so much competition for each job that sometimes people don't have a lot of choice, you know, from the cultural fit of the firm they're going to. So, yes, using informal networks is very, very important. People will tell you what a certain firm is like, what the people are like, if they're happy there or not, and you get that sort of information. And then sometimes, you know, there are just groups of, you know, different practice. You know, the different cities. There's, you know, groups of, you know, in Los Angeles and a lot of big markets. There's groups that are just for bankruptcy attorneys. So all these people go to the same groups. And so just getting out there and trying to get involved in different places where you can get a sense of the cultural fit is often very important. So, maybe that's it. Next question. What are the key signs that indicate an attorney has outgrown their current firm, warranting a lateral move? In what ways can an attorney objectively evaluate their career trajectory and determine whether a move is likely to enhance or hinder their long-term professional goals? Okay, so how does an attorney understand that they've outgrown their current firm? One of the best ways of doing so is, you know, if the work, if you feel like you could do more sophisticated work, if you feel that you know the clients you know don't have the budget for things, if you know they you know if you feel like you could do better, a much better firm. So law firms, like I said earlier, like that. They like when you're trying to move uh, because of things that you know could be improved in your own firm. So that you know is a very good reason often for moving. But typically, you know, you want to move because you want more sophisticated work, you know, that better clients, more exposure to your practice area. This is a good question. Okay, so the next question is, considering the fluctuations in the legal market, how should an attorney assess the risk of making a lateral move during periods of economic uncertainty? Additionally, what specific indicators should look at a potential law firm to ensure stability and long-term growth during such transitions? So there are certain markets that are very, very risky to move into. One of them might be like doing corporate work in a major city. When work slows down at those types of firms, then then all hell kind of breaks loose, and associates are asked to leave in droves, and it's very difficult because all those people are flooding into one market. So I talked earlier about the importance of often trying to work in larger markets, if you're trying to move up to more sophisticated work. But those markets are often very scary, mainly in transactional practice areas, which would be corporate, real estate, things like that, where there's just a lot of there's always going to be there's not going to be as many people necessarily whether when the work dries up, it's going to affect a lot of people. So sometimes people will actually, as a career move, will start in like mid-sized markets that don't have as much of a fluctuation. I've always seen that during recessions and things like that, the best markets for people to be in are often smaller markets. And the reason is that the clients aren't as big, the work doesn't slow down as dramatically, and so that can be a smart move. But if you're in a firm where all the work is slowing down because of something in the economy, then you'll be it's not a good thing. So let me see. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for being on this webinar today. I apologize for the weird background. My computer didn't start, so I'm doing this on my laptop. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. But I do appreciate everyone being here today. I think there was a lot of very important information covered. I will make sure that this is posted also for you to review after it's done. So thanks again, everyone, for being here.